Okay, so I wanted to just show everybody how you can actually assemble the third subassembly for the Automoblocks assembly. Pardon that. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to place in the passenger base and the 1 block and 2 block sockets. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, New. I'm going to start a standard IAM assembly. I'm going to place the passenger section, and I'm going to hold the control button to get the 1 block socket and the 2 block socket, and I'm just going to place one of those. So if I'm looking at this, what I want to do is I want to make this the front of my vehicle. So I'm actually going to change this to the orientation. I'm going to set that as front. I'm going to click on the upper right hand corner, right click, set current view as home, fit to view. So now that will automatically size the passenger section right here. So this 1 block and 2 block socket actually have two different sizes. So the 2 block socket is actually 2.4 inches across and the 1 block socket is 2.5. So in order to figure out which side each socket needs to go on, I'm going to right click, measure. I'm going to measure from here to here. And this is the 2.5 inch side, and I'm just going to double check, make sure that this one in fact is 2.25. So I'm going to say okay, right click, or 2.4, I mean, from here to here, 2.4, perfect. So I'm going to place those two sockets in there. I'm going to start by doing a flush constraint. I don't actually have to rotate anything. I just need to make this flush with this. Okay. And then I'm going to mate this little edge here. I know it's a little difficult to see. So this edge right here with this inside edge right here. Hit apply. Right? And now this should only be able to basically move up and down. I'm going to ground this one really quick. So this should be able to move up and down, and now I need to stop it from moving up and down, okay, in that Z direction. The whole point of creating an assembly is so that way all of my pieces are constrained. They only move how I want them to move. And in this case, I don't want this connector socket to move anywhere. So I'm going to constrain this. I'm just going to mate this skinny little top surface right here to this surface right there. Hit apply. So theoretically, when I click on this, these should look like they kind of share the same outline right here. Okay, so that one looks pretty good. I'm going to do the exact same command for this side. And those should be pretty well set. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the passenger base, which is the plastic piece. You might have the one with all the different shapes on it. That one's totally acceptable and it should fit. If not, you're welcome to download this one from Google Classroom. So luckily when I place this in here, the feet, we'll say, of the people are actually facing the correct way because the 1 block socket in this case is going towards the front. So if I think about what pieces are going to actually be touching, where is there going to be a termination? Where is there going to be an end point where the parts can no longer go through? What parts are going to be touching when this is fully assembled? The bottom of this passenger section is going to stop the bottom of this passenger base. And no, it's not going to align it perfectly. It's basically going to say, well, you have one direction that has been constrained. Okay? In this case, that's going to be that Z direction. It can no longer technically move up and down in the Z direction. I need to constrain it from moving in the Y direction. and in the X direction. And I'm going to do that just like I did with the other connector pieces. I'm going to constrain. I'm going to mate this side. Oops, a little too far. To this side. And I'm going to constrain this side to that side. Okay, so I just did 3 mate constraints on there. Okay, so that took away all of those degrees of freedom, which is what we were looking for. So last but not least, I'm going to place the windshield in here. So I'm going to add my windshield and go to open. Okay, so the windshield, this narrower part should actually be facing towards the front. You don't need to rotate anything. If you think about it, okay, when you place the windshield on top of the passenger section, basically the little tiny bottom along the windshield right there, that is what's going to make contact with this piece right here. Okay, so that looks good. If I start to kind of look at this, what I might want to do is measure some stuff up to see how it's going to fit. So I'm going to go to measure the distance between this side and this side. If I look closely, that is 1.59 inches. So 1.59 inches. So let's take a look at the bottom of the windshield there and see. Right click, measure. Is it from here to here? That is 1.59 inches. Let's make sure that I'm looking at it. Okay. Or is it from here to here? Or is it from basically right here to right here? Okay, so that one's going to be kind of the closest. So it looks as though these little tabs that sort of stick out, we might have to actually kind of place them. They might be inside of some of the pieces on here. So because the total distance from here to here is technically over. So that's at 1.628 inches. Right, so not a big deal. What we are going to do is go back to here, and I'm going to constrain. So I want some of these surfaces, and we could even do a little bit of math and make it so it's even. I want this back surface right here to mate with this surface right here. And notice that that actually rotated, okay, this windshield for me. And then I hit apply. So looking at this from the top, I should be able to move this back and forth. And if I click on this right here, it's a little difficult to see. But it looks as though that it's aligned pretty well, and that will be acceptable for this. Next thing that I want to do is I want to stop it from being able to move in the X direction. So I'm going to constrain this piece right here to that piece right there. And I'm going to hit apply. So if I look at this from the top, that looks pretty good, looks pretty even. What we can do is we can actually right click and hit measure from here to, I zoom in, trying to get this piece right here. So 0.43 inches. And then if I measure from here to here, oh, let's try that again from here. Right click, okay. Measure from this edge to here, 0.433 inches. Okay. So that's pretty good. That's only off by a thousandth of an inch. So we're not going to worry about that too much. And the windshield right here looks pretty good. So the windshield can no longer move in any direction. So I would call that fully constrained. From here, I'm going to hit Control S to save. Sub assembly 3, I believe it is. And hit that save button. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit yes to all because I want all of them to be updated and saved. And I'm going to hit OK. That works well because they're all in the same folder together. So now everything has just been updated. All of these individual part files have been updated, and the passenger section, this whole subassembly, has been updated. So when I go to place my final assembly, I am going to put in my subassembly for the bed right here, the assembly for the passenger section, and the assembly for the front. So I'm going to open that one up. I'm going to place that. Okay. I'm going to place the next one, which is this one right here. And I'm also going to place one of the connectors. Okay. Notice I'm not putting all of the parts and all of the sub-assemblies in here at one time. What I'm trying to do is keep myself a little bit more organized, and the more stuff you have floating around, the easier it is to get lost. So I'm going to make this my front view. Oops, not that way though. Make sure that it's at 90 degrees there. Set current view as front. Right here, right click, set current view as home, fit to view. So now what I'm going to try and do is actually start to connect these. Okay, so if I go to my top view right here, this looks pretty good. My home view. I'm going to connect this 1 block socket to here and the 2 block side to over here. So I find it a little bit easier to do the 2 block side first. So you might have to just do some finagling and moving things around. I'm going to ground this one right here, my passenger subassembly. And I'm going to constrain by mating this piece right here to this piece right here. Okay. Because when you actually assemble this, if you look at the vehicle that's available for you to kind of examine, you'll see that this piece right here stops at this piece right here. So those are the 2 pieces that we want to constrain, where they terminate, where they end, where they connect. That's where we want to constrain. So once again, like you saw in a previous video, I'm going to use the mate constraint for an edge inside of the 2 block socket. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I need to keep my wits about me, and I need to make sure that I choose the correct side for that constraint. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It should only be able to move in the Z direction in this case. Same thing. I'm going to use just the same cube. I'm going to use an edge, and I'm going to rotate this and make sure that I use the top piece. Hit apply. Right, and that one should look pretty good. That shouldn't move. So I'm going to constrain this kind of the same way. So when we connect this, theoretically, I'm going to flush. Actually, I should be able to mate those because these should fit together. So I should be able to mate this piece right here to this piece right there, because those are actually going to connect, right? I can move these out of the way right here. And I'm going to just use that same edge theory. So I'm going to use this flat piece right here and the edge in here. And then do the same thing on the top and bottom.